Now, the rate of Nigerians' obedience to the lockdown order by President Muhammadu Buhari has been seen to be partial, as many residents are seen roaming the streets without fear. Now, some have also been seen to hold public gatherings despite warnings against such. Only last Friday, there were reports that say Nigerian security agents busted some Muslim faithfuls who, against the lockdown order, gathered for Jumat prayers. In view of this and other similar incidents across the country, especially in the three specified cities of Abuja and Lagos and Ogun states, a public affairs analyst and president of the World Changes International, Dr. Ayoola Abiodun, joins us from our Abuja studio to examine Nigerians' attitudes towards the stay-at-home order. Good morning, Dr. Ayoola. I hope that you've been watching our shows and you've heard Ngozi many a time say that she has seen plenty of crowds and many people still on the streets of Lagos as if we are not under lockdown. Can you tell us about your experience in Abuja? Have you seen the same up there?
Basically, good morning and thank you for having me. If you look at the level of compliance in Abuja, I think to a reasonable extent, it's been effective in the sense that this is also the seat of power. When there is a presidential order, you see immediate actions. The security agents here, they've actually tried in terms of their level of enforcement, and I must commend them for the job well done. If you look at it, just take your time, go around, and you even as a reporter, I'm talking about as a reporter, you see even sometimes they will have to hold you down and try to peruse and also scrutinize the reason why you're out. Talking about the city, I'm talking about the city itself. But if you look at the satellite town, where we have the poor of the poor, the vulnerable, you understand that the survivor instinct is high. To an extent, I think we've not been able to disseminate enough information to make them understand the reason why they have to stay at home. Some just feel that because there's a virus that is actually spreading around the rich and the elite, so they want to use that to punish them. Some have not seen it as a virus or as a disease that is capable of even infecting or affecting their health. So because we've not been able to do enough sensitization even to the poor and to the grassroots. So they just feel that, okay, if you talk to them, they'll tell you that this is a disease for the rich. In fact, even some people that you assume that you think should have a little understanding, they will still tell you that, oh boy, now rich people sickness, so that is in the local and in the pigeon palace. So you know that definitely we still have a lot of work to do regarding sensitization, regarding the current global pandemic.
Yes, indeed. Apparently, a lot of work needs to be done. But how much of this is because of ignorance? Do you think this is fueling the people's, general attitude towards the seriousness of COVID-19? And when you even look at some of the incidents that have happened with the mosque situation that we talked about, that happened in Agege, right here in Lagos, and in Abuja, a church was actually invaded by security operatives who wanted to enforce the lockdown. Exactly why do you think there is this gap in terms of whether it's information that you're talking about or the need to actually take seriously this COVID-19?
Yeah, part of it is also lack of proper dissemination of information, because some still believe that this sickness can't get to me. Some, the churches you're talking about and the mosque, these are faith-based organizations. But the situation on ground is the difference between facts and faith. You cannot, the fact is that there is a virus, there's a disease. The faith there which they are applying is, I cannot get it. It can never come to me. It's not meant for me. Even if you can't get it, there is a need to also create awareness that it is better for you to save yourself. You don't have to experience, when they say a crisis is coming, fire is burning, you don't need to go and jump inside the fire to experience the fire. You should look at the people that are dying in other parts of the world. In fact, preventive measure is more important. You can prevent it. You can stay away from it. It's not necessary for you to, I want to see somebody die before I believe it. This is a lie. Even if it's a lie, even if it is not fact, even if it is not true. First of all, safety is very important. It is he that is alive that can carry out religious activities. If you are gone, you are gone. There's nothing that can be done in that regard. It is he that is alive that can talk about church service, 5-time prayers. This can be done in our homes. And basically, with what has happened right now, you can see that nobody is a sacred cow. So the most important thing in the sense of looking at it from the point of view of the people that are all coming out, the poor, trying to, we don't care, if I die, I die, because they've believed that he that is drowned need not to fear fall, because I am down. So why will I be talking about, there's this belief that this even the hunger is a more terrible, deadly virus than the coronavirus itself. So they tell you, if I'm hungry, so why won't I come out? That is why you see that people are all out trying to see how, first of all, the survival instinct is high. It's just like in animal kingdom. You can't set rules. You can't give rules. It's difficult to control them. Do you understand me? That is why in most cases you see that people chain and cage their dogs and all that. We don't have to live like animals. We have to understand, have the human instinct. First of all, safety measures have to be put in place. Quite a number of things has to be checked. We just have to all come out. We almost see this as a general responsibility, not just the government alone. Agencies must be involved. NGOs must be involved. You understand me right now? This is even beyond election sensitization. This is it involves life. You know, I was looking at the number of people infected globally this morning, and I saw that over 2.3 million globally has been infected by the disease. And over almost 160,000 people getting close, giving it a close marking, almost, you know, if you look at it by percentage, you can see that the margin it's terrible. So for us to play it down and make it look as if this is not a serious issue, we have a serious matter at hand as we're talking right now. The only thing we can do as opinion leaders and as government officials, as whatever roles we have to play at this point, is to create a sense of hope. Is to make people understand that there are certain things we have to do. Life first. You have to live before you talk about other things. Everything is on hold. Globally, businesses are on hold. Everything is on standby. Yeah. So basically, we understand that if our lives is going to be just to stay alive, first of all. If you're going to be indoor for a couple of times for you to be saved, I don't think there's anything wrong in that.
Yes, but and I wonder whether if
other agencies.
Yeah, do you think there's anything wrong with a video that has gone viral? We do know that a high-profile Nigerian, the chief of staff to President Buhari, has lost his life to COVID-19, and he was buried yesterday right there in Abuja where you are. We saw this video of, people actually driving in convoys to the funeral of the late chief of staff. And right after that, you saw a gentleman somewhere, pulling off his protective gear and just dumped it on the road, the roadside. I wonder what you think of this. Is this leadership by example? Should this be coming from members of government?
Yeah, you need to understand that there is no perfect system anywhere, even in America. I saw a video, I think in Michigan also, some people loyal to the party, to Republicans, some Republican members went out and they were trying to campaign that the economy should be reopened. And one of them was interviewed. You are not putting on you are not putting on any protective gear. Is it that you don't believe that the virus exists? He said, well, I believe the virus exists. So why are you not? Why are you here? You are gathered in crowd. What is the? Yeah, he said, because even if it existed, I believe that I cannot contract this disease, but notwithstanding, first of all, the economy has to be open and all that. You ask yourself, that is where even people are dying in thousands. Why did that guy, who possibly is a part of a ruling party, why did he do that? In a system like this, you cannot definitely not find people like that. There are people that are still ignorant of the fact that this disease is a contractual disease, is an epidemic. They still believe that, well, I can't, just like I told you, they are still very much within themselves. They believe that this is something else. In fact, don't be shocked that some people will tell you that what actually killed the chief of staff is not coronavirus. They will tell you that possibly the man had underlying health issues and all that. I even had somebody who told me that my immune system is above this, I can't contract it. So that's why you see some people they are still deviant. But that tells you, if people among the class, among the elite class, people that should take the lead, people that should educate people, people that should tell people to be careful, if they can go in their droves in that manner, that tells you that we have a big situation at hand here. And that means there's a serious job for us to do. People that are meant to be responsible, people that are meant to control and to also to be in charge, to take charge, as in to look after others. If they can defile others, not even looking after their own self. If you look at the way they even pull off I saw the video, but basically that is just one among hundreds. You can't use that one particular person to judge the rest of the people. It's not.
Right. Well, Dr. Ayoola, thank you so much for your thoughts. If you could just put them on pause. We are going to a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Well, welcome back to the morning show. Still with us is Dr. Ayoola Abiodun, who joins us from our Abuja studios, and he's here talking to us about Nigerians and their attitudes towards the stay-at-home orders across the states under lockdown in Nigeria as it stands. I wanted to ask you, though, Dr. Ayoola, what your thoughts are on how we can not only dispel myths, but get people to understand the severity of the situation. You spent your last answer telling us how you believe, and you've seen many examples of people just not believing how serious the situation is. And do you think that they are lost causes? Do you think that there are things that we can do to sway them onto the side of not only believing, but behaving in accordance to these directives?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Fact, just like you asked me a question the other time before we went on break regarding the level of compliance, even the video that went viral. Anyway, the system, the NSDC or whatever, they've tried, the government has tried, and I must also commend their efforts. You cannot use one man's failure to adjudge a system. In fact, as a matter of fact, if you look at what they have been doing in Nigeria, we must commend them. I never expected that. This is near perfect for me. In as much as people will criticize, it's not easy to be on the spot. It's not easy to be at the forefront. It is easier to criticize. It is easier to condemn. But at this point, you look at it that all hands must be on deck. Every one of us must see this, especially we that we see ourselves as opinion leaders, religious leaders. We must educate everyone. The people, the poorest of the poor, is not enough to provide palliative measure. If you keep providing palliative measure, they see it as a means whereby people want to siphon money or steal whatsoever. That is still some people's belief as we speak. They say, some of these people, this political class, they want to use it as a conduit pipe to siphon, to steal. So that is basically still their belief. But you see, one thing the government must also do now at this point is to engage NGOs. We must go out to disseminate information, proper information on preventive measure, the root cause, how it transmits. Because if this thing, you see, there's the community to community transmission. When that starts, then we won't be able to control this anymore. We must go to these places, to this grassroots, to educate these people in their various languages. There are people who cannot understand English. They don't understand what coronavirus is. Some cannot even pronounce it properly. Some cannot even tell you. They just say there is a disease killing person. They don't understand what the disease is. We must make them understand what it is. We must make them understand the danger of it. We must make them understand that you must stay alive first. And to stay alive, there are certain things you must do. You must stay at home. You must maintain social distance. They don't even understand what is social distance. If you ask some people, I saw a video, they ask you what is social distance. The response was very hilarious. We laugh over it. But it tells you the level of education, the level of information disseminated. We've not done well, we've not done a good job to disseminate information, to educate the people properly what this is. In their local dialects, we must get people at different points from different villages, from community leaders. The local leaders from Obas to Emirs to all this, they must be involved in all this. And we must see that this is a virus. This is just like the president of America the President of America said, he said, this is invisible enemy. We must know that this is an invisible enemy, that the only way we can fight it, if you are fighting a visible enemy, you know how to combat, you prepare for combat, you prepare for war. Nobody knows where there is a drum of war, and there's a raging storm right now. There's a pandemic. Nobody knows where the angle is going to come from. Nobody knows what will happen next. There is a palpable fear, but at the same time, we should not utter statement that will create pandemonium, that will create fear, but we should give hope. As leaders and as opinion leaders, we should let people know that this shall pass. If we can maintain this social distance, if we can put in these measures, not just palliative measure in terms of money, in terms of food. That is also important, because if you look at the level of insecurity because of rape, because of robbery and all that, not also governments, I'm saying this again, people that are also comfortable in their own right, in their own different communities, should also give the little they have. Also, because for you to, if you leave people that are hungry around your neighborhood, when there's nothing to do anymore, they will come after you. So the little you can give, if you don't want to give it directly, please look for the nearest NGO, look for the nearest people around that you can appoint to go and distribute. When people have what to eat, they can comfortably stay in their homes. There are people, those people in the rural areas. You see the way they are defaulting. They will tell you that we don't have anything to eat. Sometimes I get calls as much as people requesting for as little as 1,000 naira. A woman that with a family of 5 called me yesterday, requested for 2,000 naira for them to buy. I now thought about it. I said, how will you use 2,000 naira to buy food? What will it do for you? So that is to tell you the level of pain. There are people who make money on daily basis. Their survival is whatever they make today is what they use to eat, to feed their family. As I'm speaking with you, quite a number of them are stranded. They don't know what to do. So we shouldn't wait for the government to come and reach out to such people. We can also, in our own little way, reach out to such people. In your own little capacity, you can buy 10 bags of rice. Look for a way to distribute it. Talking about waiting for government, look at what they give to a whole community. You that you have, if you collect from also government, this is a sin to you. You have a conscience. Give it to people who do not have. If you are in charge of distributing relief materials or whatsoever, and you are stocking it, whatever you keep at this time will be a poison to you. Give it to other people who cannot afford it, because even if you keep it, nobody knows how far this is going to end, how far this is going to go. Because if you look at why I'm so concerned and why I'm worried is, every day you see the numbers of people, they tell you 10 million people to be infected in Africa. I see 30 million, the wife of Bill Gates, I see 30 million deaths in Africa. You can see all the projection and all that. We should counter it. How do we counter it? Through our actions. We cannot just go on social media and say it's a lie, devil is a liar. Actions speak louder than voice. You have to act. Let's take a preemptive measure. Let us prove to the world that we can come together, united we stand, divided we are going to fall. Let me tell you something. This is beyond party lines. This is beyond political divides. This is a common enemy we must come together to fight. Let's throw criticism aside. After that, we can resume to the work of opposition. We can resume to the work of activism. Let us channel our energy, our effort, our activism towards the fact that we are going to fight this common invisible enemy as a people with common desire. I'm telling you, we're going to defeat this.
Very well said. I'm tempted to just allow you go on because you have stated your points very, very passionately there. And Senator Shehu Sani actually said that hunger will compel Nigerians to defy the lockdown. There is the challenge of trust deficit. Nigerians, the average Nigerian doesn't seem to understand or trust government when it comes up with policies like the palliatives, for example, which they don't even believe is going out to anybody. And then there's the argument, on the other hand, that these palliatives are not even going around, the so-called conditional cash disbursement that's been going on. A lot of people are complaining that it's just not going around at all. How do we deal with the problem of trust, Nigerians trusting their government? And, of course, do speak to the issue of security, which you mentioned earlier. Are there threats, or do you think that this lockdown could actually, be a threat to national security? And what does government really need to do very quickly to, stem the tide of insecurity, especially during this period?
Let me start from the issue of security that you mentioned, because security is very paramount. If you remove shelter, clothing, security, and food, you understand that these are essential. This is very essential to human existence. As regards security, you cannot say the security agencies have not tried on their own, but basically the greatest thing you can do to yourself is self-deceit. Hunger itself can make people to go to any lengths. I was telling somebody earlier this week, and I said something. I said, pray never to be hungry. You cannot determine what you will do next. It's because you have other means other means of survival. There's this high survival instinct, which is like in animal kingdom. It's a general thing in human. When you are completely locked down, when there is no more alternatives, anything you see becomes an alternative. These security agents should have at this period in time. In terms of maybe there's going to be breakdown, yes, there's no doubt. In those areas where we have the poor of the poor, yes, I can tell you this, that if certain things are not tightened, if certain loose ends are not tightened, I will tell you that we are seated on the keg of a gunpowder. But everyone must all be inclusive. We must be included in this. We cannot just leave it at the doorstep of the security agent. They are also human. They also have their own challenges. At this time, let's leave it to the point that, okay, the Nigerian police is not trying, this is not trying, the tax is not trying, everybody is trying their best. These are people, I know few people that are at the forefront of this. Some have not gone to their houses, for their homes, for as long as I know. I know quite a number of people that have been working around the clock. We must give it to them. We must appreciate them. One thing we must learn to do in Nigeria is we must learn to appreciate our people that have chosen to sacrifice themselves, to put themselves at the forefront. What we have to do at this point is everybody must see themselves as a stakeholder as regards this. If there is any movement that you suspect in your area, report it, raise alarm. Do not hesitate to raise alarm. Even the people that are all going out, they believe that this is the only time they can. There are hoodlums that are using this as an excuse anyway, because even when there was no crisis, when there was no pandemic, we've always had them in our midst. So what do we do to people like that? We can't use this to pamper them and say it's because there is a pandemic, there is hunger, there is lockdown. Before the lockdown didn't we have insecurity? There are people that are insatiable. It's not like they are only using this as a cover-up. Haven't we have pickpockets and all that before now? If we now say because there is a global, we should not use everything as an avenue to criticize. Well, that's what I'm saying. We must all see ourselves. Yes, there is hunger. What are we doing? It's not enough for me to go on Twitter or to go on Facebook and start criticizing and say hunger is this, hunger is that. Some state governments they've put in measure. They've relaxed the measure a little bit. Do you understand me? So basically, what we should do in our own different rights, I've said it earlier, we should all see ourselves as stakeholders. It's not time to criticize. It's not time to condemn. It is only people that are alive that will tell the story later.
Absolutely. How can government, help people to actually build trust in the policies of government, especially when government says, stay at home,
exactly.
These policies are for your own good. And what is the role of the National Orientation Agency in all of this? We don't seem to be hearing much from them. What should they be doing at this time?
The problem is that everything has been done before the Ministry of Health and the Disease Control Agency and all that. No, that's what I'm saying, that all the people that have gone into hiding, like the NGOs and all that, they fear even the greatest disease. If we can start preaching, we should put in measure the protective, the nose mask and every other thing, the social distancing, and we should start educating people on measure to ameliorate fear, the disease itself, contracting the disease and the spread of it. In the area of trust, what government can do is that let there be a level of transparency. Other people, external factors should be part of what they are doing presently. Community leaders, it should not just be government official alone. By so doing, people will feel that things are shrouded in mystery. That is why there is no level of trust. The way to bring in to rekindle people's trust, the trust of the masses at this point, is to be transparent. The process should be transparent enough. Community leaders should be included in the process. It shouldn't just be a political thing. It should go beyond party level. It should go beyond who has party card or national ID card or whatsoever. It's not everybody that's been able to access the national ID card or whatever. Even it should go beyond BVNs or whatever. As our national leader said, he said people should be paid, the money whatever should be paid through people's BVN. And I had some people commented that there are people among the poor of the poor in villages who do not have bank accounts. We understand that. Other measures should be employed. No opinion should be thrown away. People should not be criticized at this point. Sieve it. Check the facts. Whatever anyone says, bring it to the table, juxtapose it, use the ones out of mess. We can gather nonsense. Out of nonsense, sorry, we can gather sense. So let's gather the sense we can gather. Let's take the message out of the mess. So let us not just look at it that what is this person saying? Don't dispel whatever anyone is saying at this point. Every information matters. If there's any information from any quarters, we should work on it as quick as possible. This is not time to joke or play. We must commend the government in the sense of what they are doing, daily briefing and all that. The measure put in place, the enforcement of the stay-at-home order is highly commendable. Yes, we might say in certain areas the enforcement is not good as we expected, but let me tell you something.
All right, Dr. Tim Ayoola Abiodun is the president, World Changers International. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, talking about the lockdown.